This is James Lindsay's stepdaughter, and she didn't wear this crown in this photo. I just put the crown on to protect her anonymity. She is 29 years old. I was challenged by this woman here. Her handle on X is Poetry Painter. She is one of James Lindsay's biggest fans. She challenged me after I mentioned James Lindsay's stepdaughter and some of the allegations that she made against her stepdad. She challenged me and said, if you don't know much about her, why are you posting about her? And I thought I should find out more about his stepdaughter. I reviewed all her 546 tweets and more, and it helped me to be able to answer Poetry Painter's objections. I will show you my full response later in the video, and I will show you all the tweets that James Lindsay's stepdaughter has made that I found interesting. Let's start at the beginning. In January of this year, James Lindsay's stepdaughter, and I'm going to call her Britta for short, even though that's probably not her name, but that's part of her Twitter handle. In the beginning of this year, Britta made some tweets, and they have since been deleted, but I was able to find them. She's talking to somebody. She's referring to James Lindsay, talks about his wife, and then likes pictures of thoughts every day on Twitter. And then, this is the bombshell, James Lindsay's daughter says, they have an open marriage and it's one-sided though. Somebody else asked her a question, and she follows it up with, yep, the open marriage only started in like 2020 though, not my whole life. After she posted these tweets on January 8th, she says that it went from 0 notifications to over 1,000 notifications overnight. And many of the responses were negative, attacking her, people from all sides, not just James Lindsay fans. It was so bad, she had to lock her account for a short time. She's since reopened it, obviously. Her account is open, you can see. And this is probably why she deleted these original tweets on January 8th. These are screenshots, these aren't her tweets. But in subsequent months, she has reiterated what she said originally. She says here, her mom, says she's okay with it, the open marriage. But the last time we talked, she vented to me about it as if I was her therapist and was visibly not okay with it. She told me he'd had sex with somebody my age and I was around 24 at the time. I genuinely didn't think it was a secret. I was told about it in 2021 very openly, and I never thought it was something he was hiding, especially since he was actively having sex with groupies in 2021. That was 4 years ago, so I can't speak on what they do now, but my stepdad and I exchanged messages already, and he did not deny it. She says here, she's not the only one who knows about the open marriage. She says, and I think it's hilarious. I think she's talking about her James Lindsay's fans. She says, I think it's hilarious that they think I'm the only relative that knew about the open marriage and that there aren't people who would corroborate my story in a court of law. So I don't know if she's referring to her sister because she has an older sister that she mentions in a tweet, or if she's referring to other relatives that might know. She says, when he and I texted in January, he told me I had lost him $500,000 he would have gotten from Christian followers. Now let's think about this one. This is where it starts to be funny. It's funny, but it's not. It's not for her because I feel bad for her. So your stepdaughter says you forced her mom into an open marriage she didn't want. And your response is not, I'm sorry, or some explanation, not any accountability. It's blaming her. But the second part of this tweet is also interesting. He says, you lost me $500,000 I would have gotten from Christians. Why? That struck me as odd. Why Christians specifically? It makes me think about this meme here. Just made this meme today. It makes me think, why with Christians? What is that about? Why would he single out Christians? Is he specifically targeting Christians? And James kind of mentions it in this video, and I will leave this video in the description. It's too long to play. Basically, he says that he had 3 to 15 speeches a month, and then he went to 0. Then he had lost half of his subscribers. So if he's speaking at churches, then that's Christians. Or if he's just speaking to a conservative audience, some of the people in the conservative audience will be Christian, and some of the subscribers will be Christian. So I guess that's how he got there. Why wouldn't he just say conservatives? But I don't know. I don't know. Does that mean he's specifically trying to target Christians? Well, we'll get back to that. But the thing about this is, he says these things happened in October of 2024. This is 3 months prior to his stepdaughter saying he forced his wife into an open marriage. So what happened in October of 2024? He explains in this video how at the end of September 2024, he made a tweet in response to Trump, who made a tweet about a Catholic prayer. This is the prayer that Donald Trump posted. He didn't reply directly to Trump, but he made his own tweet. And it's basically a strange post, like tying Michael, the archangel, to the devil, and then also tying it to the United Nations. They did something at some point, and it makes connections that I don't really think he has a good basis for. And a lot of people didn't like this tweet. He got a lot of backlash for this tweet. And he starts to get canceled from these events. And this is when he started calling people woke right. This is the impetus, because they quote unquote canceled him. I would take issue with him claiming this is canceling somebody, because if, for example, if he had a conference and he had a speaker that was going to be speaking at the conference, and then suddenly the speaker on Twitter or someplace said something completely opposite of what James Lindsay believes, and maybe even criticizes James Lindsay, like James Lindsay's wrong for this, do you think James would say, you can't come and speak here? At some point, James would say, no, you can't speak here. We were going to have you, but you said something, and we just prefer, not to have you. James would absolutely do that. That would be normal for him to do. So what he's describing as canceling is completely normal in the context he's saying. If somebody says canceling as far as the government shutting you down, or like social media, or getting debanked, like, I agree, that's bad. But if people just say, we don't want you speaking at our event anymore because of something you said, like, that's completely normal. And this is when he started calling people woke right. Here's a map Milo Yiannopoulos posted saying this is every conservative James Lindsay has called quote unquote woke right. This is a ton of people. And people don't like that. If you call somebody woke right and they're on the right, and probably anybody that likes those people don't like it. So he says all this stuff, upsets a lot of people, has some bad ramifications. Honestly, making this video, I start to feel bad for him, hearing him speak on this video. Then I start to think about all the people he has slandered, and all the division he's caused on the right and all the people he's misled, like all his followers. And then I don't feel so bad. So I'm torn. I feel bad, but I don't feel bad. And I made this meme. He does all this stuff. He upsets all these people, and these places cancel him from his speaking engagements. Then his stepdaughter says something about his open marriage with his wife, and he says, you lost me $500,000. How is that her fault? All this stuff had happened already in the prior 3 months. I want to go back to this tweet. This is more about his, how she doesn't believe that he's really sincere about his positive comments about Christianity, because he made that tweet about the prayer, but he said other things that are more positive to Christianity. He claims to be an agnostic now. He's claimed that in tweets in the last year. But she says, and I don't think she really buys it. She says, when I first made this tweet about the open marriage, it was because I was seeing hundreds of people believing my stepdad is a Christian himself. I don't believe his view ever shifted, and that he's pretending he believes it plays a role in society for money. And so she's doubting. Now let's go into a little bit more background. She tells this story about something that happened in high school. So this was like 13, 14 years ago. And she says, when I was in high school, I told my parents I wanted to be a Christian, and my stepdad, James, said he was going to sit with me each night and read the Bible to me and show me why it was a made-up and evil book. I listened to him talk every day about how stupid Christians are. I'm not Christian, and it was just a phase, but I'm shocked to see how Many Christians follow him and believe he has the best interest in heart, unless something in him has changed and he believes the Bible now. So she's doubting it based on her prior experience. She says she's agnostic now in another tweet. And then another person says, hey, I thought your dad was a new atheist. Does he really believe in quote-unquote magic sky daddy, meaning God? Or does he just say stuff for clicks and giggles? And she says, yes, it's for clicks and giggles, but specifically for the money. So she's still thinking it's for the money. She says he thinks Christians are retarded. Whether that's hate or not, I don't know, but he thinks they're imbeciles. It immediately shows someone's IQ level when they believe he's not an atheist. And in this video, he's talking about biblical values in it. And she says, biblical values, he's so full of it. I never once saw him acknowledge anything positive or beneficial from the Bible. I can't speak for what goes on in his head, though. She says he speaks to primarily a Christian audience, and I would be doing a disservice by letting him lead them astray. If I wanted to backstab him, I would post something way, way worse than this simple tweet. Yeah, she could have made a lot of accusations about him that would have been a lot worse, and I'll talk about that when I respond to Poetry Painter. 14 years ago, 14 years is a long time, and anything can change in that time. You are right, I can't speak to what goes on in his head. So she's showing she's level-headed here. And somebody says, why don't you just talk to him in private about all this stuff? And she says, do you think I can just go up to him and ask nicely for him to stop manipulating Christians? And he will? Dang, I should have thought of that. I want to bring up one of his biggest fans now, and the tweet that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So I had reviewed all of James Lindsay Step-Daughter's tweets, a little bit over 500, because this woman, Poetry Painter, she says, if you don't know anything about the stepdaughter, why are you posting about her? You're the one who did that. She says, you mean the stepdaughter who estranged herself? Now she's attacking the credibility. You mean the stepdaughter who estranged herself from her family, has apparent drug issues, is 28, but posts like a moody teenager, and who thinks Karlyn Borysenko is great. I think Karlyn Borysenko is great. So what? I'm supposed to trust her? I admitted, I said, I don't know anything about the stepdaughter. At the time, I didn't. I hadn't looked at her tweets yet. But why would she have reason to lie? That's the thing I'm thinking about. Why would she have reason to lie? To hurt her stepdad and mom? She's not getting anything out of it. Why would James have motivation to do this? Like most men, to get laid. Has James shown a pattern of behavior that would make me think he might do something like that? Of course, yes. He's never accountable, slanders people all the time with the woke right nonsense, just throws out jumbled word salads at people instead of speaking plainly. Red flag. Yes, I do think it's probable the stepdaughter story is accurate. And she calls me out. She says, if you don't know anything about the stepdaughter, why are you posting about her? Well, I know she's a stepdaughter. I know that. And I didn't know a lot about her at the time. I knew a little bit more than I'm letting on here, but not a lot. You're the one who did that. Sometimes people want any kind of attention, even if, and this is what I'm going to respond to. Sometimes people want any kind of attention, even if negative. Okay. I'm going to call you on that there. If she wanted attention, why does she only have 530 tweets? And if she wanted attention, after she had the tweet that gave her over 1,000 notifications, why would she delete those tweets? You're saying she wants attention, even if negative. She got attention, some, maybe a lot of negative attention from people like you. If she wanted that, why would she delete those tweets? Why would she lock her account? The stepdaughter is very politically leftist and seems to resent that James is not. So I didn't see that from her tweets. I reviewed all her tweets. She says, mine is, I lean primarily leftist. Anarchism specifically. I thought anarchism was more like extreme right, but anyway. But despite being bisexual, I hold some views regarding LGBT community that would probably piss off the community. I think it's something about like she doesn't believe in like grooming kids, something like that. She says, I honestly enjoy content that is completely opposite of my political views because it's interesting to learn what's going on from the other perspective. I see people as more than just sides because at the end of the day, everyone is human. So, I mean, she seems like a reasonable person, not like a crazy person. She says, I want to clarify, I don't post this stuff to bring down my stepdad's work. I don't care about his work. And I don't think his work matters. I think it's insignificant in the world. And then Karlyn says something, and then she says in response, you'd be surprised the amount of your streams I've watched. So she's watching Karlyn's streams. Karlyn is, I don't know what you classify her as, more like a conservative. You'd be surprised the amount of streams I've watched. Even if they're completely different viewpoints than mine, it is refreshing to watch someone unbiased putting in the work and sharing their knowledge in a digestible way. This is something you should be proud of. Yes, she should be. That's a great analysis of Karlyn's work. Like, she's putting it together very well. She seems in good faith. And it is a digestible way. That's a very good analysis. Very good summation. She seems to be resentful of James. And that's why she's doing it. She's making up these lies because she resents his political perspective. I think that's ridiculous because she's commenting positively on Karlyn, even though she says, I don't necessarily agree with Karlyn, but I like her streams. A person might post lies in order to hurt people. Well, the thing is, if she wanted to post lies, she had many opportunities to post lies. And let me show you some of those opportunities she had that she didn't take. A screenshot of a tweet that James had sent to her. And it said something like, I can't wait to see you again, and I want a long hug or something. It could be construed as kind of weird. But she didn't take that opportunity to say, yes, it was weird. She could have said all kinds of things to that. But she says, we have hugged 4 times in my entire life. They're just not huggers or affectionate. That's why wanting a long hug was special. Neither of us are affectionate people. You reading a heartfelt text as inappropriate speaks more to the way your mind works than it does to reality. She's like, no, there's nothing wrong with it. We're just not affectionate. That's what that means. It doesn't mean anything weird. If she would have said it was weird and she could have said other things happened too that were weird with him. She says, I never experienced anything like that as a child. It's like sexual abuse. If anything, I was never touched, not even in a caretaker way, to the point now where hugs are odd to me. The hug request wasn't weird. I never had been molested ever by anybody. She could have said the hug was weird. The hug request was weird. And he also made me feel weird when I was growing up, uncomfortable. And nobody would have known. Nobody would have known. She could have said that lie. Anybody could have said, we don't believe you. She said, you weren't there. You weren't there. I was there. How can you tell me I'm wrong? They can't really tell her that she's wrong. It's just her word against James's if she was to do that. And she defended him. She's like, no, he never did. I never been molested. What an odd thing to say. And she's just pushing back. And this is another one where Milo made this accusation. I really wish Milo would be more careful about his accusations. But he says that James purchased naked pictures of his stepdaughter. That's what Milo claims. And then she's pushing back on that. She's like, no, that's not true. It goes on. They go back and forth a few times. That's quite a claim to make to your 332,000 followers without proof, just because someone hurt your feelings, because James and Milo have a feud going. So no, it's not completely accurate, and until you can prove it, it just makes you look like a creep. She's pushing back on him hard. She could have said, yes, he did try to do that. And she goes on to defend her dad, say he's a great dad. She could have said he was a terrible dad. He molested me. He abused me. She says, no, he was truly great to me. I could not have asked for a better father. I don't understand what's going on with him these days. It hurts, but it doesn't change my love for him. Thank you for your kindness. She could have said all kinds of nasty things. She didn't. She says, growing up, he was the smartest person I had ever met. I could ask him anything, and he was like a human search engine. Seeing what he's done with the intelligence has really disappointed me. So she's saying nice things about him, at least in the past. I mean, she's disappointed now with some of the stuff that's happened, and she brings up a lot of the nice texts they had together. 2021. And she appreciates that, right? It seems like they had a good relationship going. Somebody says something about her stepdad. She says, I hope so too. I would love for him to come back into my life. But his response to all this makes me feel like he never wanted to ever come back into my life, which is okay. I am very loved and cared for by others, but I will always grieve that connection with him. People like this poetry painter woman was sharing posts about supposedly Britta being groomed by Karlyn Borysenko. And it kind of muddied the waters because Britta said these things on January 8th. And then Karlyn contacted Britta afterwards, maybe days or a week afterwards. And they all seized on that because they hate Karlyn. And then they started saying, Karlyn's grooming her. And it was people like Poetry Painter and other James Lindsay fans. Like this person, Frank McCormick, he says, Karlyn Borysenko stalking and attempts to manipulate James Lindsay's daughter for personal info are repulsive. This isn't concern, it's calculated emotional exploitation. Weaponizing his child to harm her father is abuse. She's 28 years old at this time. His child? And then Britta responds, she quote tweeted that, Karlyn and I have only messaged one time since January. This man is so obsessed with me. We exchanged brief messages after the fact, after Britta said all these things on January 8th. And she didn't even give Karlyn any new information. And here's another one from Frank. Karlyn Borysenko's message to James Lindsay's daughter are incredibly disturbing. This is what Karlyn said to Britta. Listen, I really appreciate you spilling the tea on James because he's spread rumors about me for years and has caused me a lot of problems, but I don't know if you understand how much attention you might get from posting this stuff, that James forced her mom into an open marriage, both from his audience and from people who hate him, which a lot of people do right now. Be careful who you talk to and who you trust, including me, because there are a lot of people who will try to use you, and if it gets bad, just private your account and get off the platform for a while. You can make all the noise stop just by logging off. Good luck, Karlyn. She's being very nice, gave her sound advice, but this is funny how this is what Frank says, and then James responds. This is just funny. Karlyn lies so much about everything all the time that she could have just created her own sock puppet account so she can make up whatever nasty stuff she wants about me. Moreover, the stepdaughter estranged herself from me years ago because I supported Trump. He started supporting Trump before the 2020 election. So that's 2020. Look at these posts she posts in response to him. These are text messages between her and him, and she's posting these to prove, look, this isn't Karlyn, this is me. And these are really nice messages that they had between each other. And check the date, 2021. And Britta says, Happy Father's Day. I love you so much. And every day I am grateful to have you as my dad. I am so blessed to have someone who loves me so well in my life. Is this the text of somebody who is estranged from somebody else? This is June 20th, 2021. At least 8 months after James Lindsay started supporting Trump. Britta also says, Hi, late night text, but today in the car, Mama, Britta's mom, said you are like, at least she tolerates me. Or something like that, and I want you to know I don't just tolerate you. This is Britta saying this to James. I don't just tolerate you, I love you. You are so important. Crazy how nice this is. I love you. You are so important to me, and I may never fully understand the work you do, but it's important to you, and that's gotten you out of the house, into the world, experiencing life, and that's so special to me and makes me very happy for you. You having that outlet and feeling like you have a purpose is really important to me because I've watched you be depressed, and I'm sure you still struggle, but you've made huge strides. You are my father, and you've always been there, and listen to me. I will always be here, always. Wow. That's super, super nice. Is this the text of an estranged person? This is August 1st, 2021, almost a year after James Lindsay started supporting Trump. And she's saying, I may never fully understand the work you do. What's the work that he does? His political activism. She's not saying, I'm estranging myself from you. I hate this, what you're doing. She's saying, I don't understand it, but I support you anyway. This is not the text of a person retaliating over politics. I've exchanged a few messages with someone you don't like, Karlyn, and you are spreading lies about me for views instead of communicating with me. And then Reagan Hahn offers this nice tweet in support. I'm equally disgusted with James Lindsay's behavior online. It's no way to treat your stepdaughter. He's become too addicted to fame, money, clout, and blocked his 28-year-old stepdaughter. He blocked her on the same day that she posted these tweets. And she didn't even do this on purpose. I mean, to expose him, I wouldn't even mind if she did. If she did this from the mountaintop. But she didn't even really do this on purpose. She kind of accidentally did this. This all started with a tweet between my friend and I that I thought no one would see on my measly Twitter account of 500 followers. Yeah, she didn't even mean to do that. It was an offhanded comment to her personal friend. And then the next morning, 1,000 notifications. So it blew up on accident. She wasn't doing this big campaign. She ends by saying, this was in May. I think Frank had posted another thing about Britta in May. And she says, people like Frank making unnecessary posts to cause drama is something that just pisses me off. And the amount of information I've not shared about my stepdad, because I've tried to be as civil as possible, is a lot. But if I keep seeing posts like this, I'm just going to share everything. Wow. I haven't seen them really post anything after she said this. When looking through this situation, I didn't really see anything else they shared. So that was a shot over the bow that she made, and they backed off. And then Karlyn, the ultimate troll. As a reminder, James Lindsay has no children of his own and has subjected his own stepdaughter to the abuse and harassment of his followers, not pushing back on any of his followers like Poetry Painter, and Frank, but letting it all go. Because he's pissed off, she revealed that he forced his wife to be in an open marriage so he can bang his groupies at events. Jeez, knockout blow. She could have posted a lot of lies to hurt him. If that was her intent, she didn't. She didn't take the bait. She said, no, he didn't ever touch me. He was a great dad. The hug wasn't weird. And he never bought any naked pictures. So she debunked all that. And this is what I say in my response. I said, I know she's James because she's saying you don't know anything about her. And this is after I researched. This was like almost 2 weeks later, after I looked at her tweets a little bit. And I said, I know she is James Lindsay's daughter. That right there makes it noteworthy. That's why I brought it up. That she would accuse James of what she did. And I didn't even say, like, it's true. I said, this is what she says. Because I don't know for sure. However, I strongly believe it. I looked at her tweets, and she doesn't seem malicious or like she's seeking attention. If she was seeking attention, why does she only have 500 tweets? If she was lying for attention to get revenge on James for his political views, like she says, then why does she defend James on several occasions? She said he was a great dad. When given the opportunity to say James bought her naked pictures, she denied it emphatically. Given a chance to say that James asking for a hug on text was creepy, and she denied that too, explaining they didn't hug often, and that it was fine, and that James never touched her inappropriately or anything like that. If she was, as you are speculating, just wanting attention or wanting to hurt James for his political views, she is not demonstrating the behavior of someone who would want to do that, right? I'm putting it back on her, and she says, pray for discernment. So she's just gaslighting. You don't have discernment. You need to pray because you're not getting it. No, I do get it. And I said, discernment for you? And she's since blocked me for something else, I think. But anyway, about the original claims, she estranged herself from her family. Does that mean she's lying? She says she went no contact with her mother about 4 years ago. And the reason she went no contact was something about her mother tried to maintain authority over her until she finally cut off her mom when she was 25. Maybe her mom was doing something she didn't like. I hate him thinking I went no contact with him because that was not the case. If he reached out, I would respond positively. It's my mother I have issues with, which I still wish to fix one day. Okay, so she never really had the issues with James. Has apparent drug issues. Okay, well, let's look into that. She says, I hit my 5 years sober end of December. You're making fun of a version of me that doesn't exist. So I'm assuming this is alcohol. So good for her. She's 5 years sober from alcohol. She does smoke pot. She admits that. She says, weed saved my life in many ways. Does that mean she's lying? I've never smoked pot before, but just because you smoke pot, that doesn't make you into a big liar. You're going to lie about your whole family. I feel like she's just saying anything she can just to impugn James Lindsay's daughter because James Lindsay's daughter said something negative about James. Who cares if she thinks Karlyn's great? So what? So what? That means she's lying? I mean, she's lying. Everybody who likes Karlyn is a liar. And you should not believe anything they say, apparently. Post like a moody teenager. In the same sentence, post like a moody teenager who thinks Karlyn Borysenko is great. Is this not what a teenager would say? You like Melinda? Oh, that must mean you're terrible too, just like her. She had opportunity to say other things if she was a big liar trying to hurt her stepdad. She could have said a lot of other things, worse things. Pedophilia is way worse of an accusation. She could have said that, especially after the hug comment, especially after Milo set her up for the alley-oop dunk. He says, right here, take it and dunk it. And she's like, no, dude, I'm not doing it. It's not true. It's not true what you're saying. The other guy set her up. Here you go. Here is a lollipop. Like in baseball. Here's a big fat pitch over the middle. Hit it for a home run. Take the hug. Take that. Say it's creepy. You could say all kinds of stuff. You want to hurt him, right? You want to get back at him for his political views, right? She's like, no, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm not doing that. He didn't do that. He was a great dad, in fact. And I would welcome him into my life. I hope it's mended between me and my mom. And I think that she's handled this situation great. She gets 1,000 responses overnight. And she keeps her poise. She handles it well. Being reasonable, being honest. So, good job. And I hope she's doing well. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next video.